Welcome, everyone, to the Asian Business Student Association Spring 2021 orientation. That segue was so smooth, in my opinion. And I'm really excited to see both new as well as returning members. And before we begin, I'd love to have your undivided attention and, if possible, have your cameras on. I always love meeting our amazing members, and this would just help me put a face to a name. And before we start, I'd actually like to hear what y'all are interested to gain from ABSA. So we'll be putting up a poll for y'all to answer. Give it a minute. All right, so the question is, if you guys can't see on the screen, what's the number one professional skill you like to work on this semester? All right, a lot of y'all are saying networking. I get it. Okay, it seems like a majority of it is networking. Okay, we'll just end it off in 30. Okay, awesome. So yeah, networking, definitely a great pillar of ABSA. But our corporate department will be talking a little bit about that later, or we'll be talking about the pillars a little bit later. But believe it or not, I kind of want to start off with a history lesson. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so yeah, so just a little bit of the brief history about ABSA. 10 years ago, yes, 10 years ago, which makes this ABSA's 10-year second semester anniversary, members of different organizations like Beta Alpha Psi or MISO joined forces to create the Asian Business Student Association to promote community within the Asian American body and Bower. And as time passed, ABSA gained more traction and started to see more members of different majors and different ethnicities. And even though a decade has passed since our founding members has first created ABSA, our core value still stands to develop our members academically, socially, and professionally. So next slide. All right. So one of our founding members, Ralph Tagalog, summed it up the best in this quote: "Success is not a destination, it's a journey." Now, bear with me because I feel like I get a little bit cheesy when I talk about this. But no matter where you are right now in life, no matter you're a freshman just starting out in college or a senior about to break it big in the corporate world, the definition of success will look different for everyone. And in a society where we focus so much on the end result, I feel like we tend to forget to enjoy the process of developing and finding ourselves. Because at the end of the day, you aren't going to be defined by a promotion or a title you received, but by the journey and steps that took you there. Things like resilience or tenacity are what curate the basis of success. And finding a community where we're all just looking for the exact same thing is why you see so many returning members today. And speaking from my own experience, that's exactly what this org has become for me. I know some of y'all may have joined because you want to make friends or network or even find your potential soulmate. Don't worry, I don't judge. But I think that once you start to truly embrace what this community has to offer, you'll find yourself also striving to succeed. A little bit about me: when I first joined the fall of 2019, I was just looking to be more outgoing and find friends. My first semester in college, I was super painfully shy. Last semester's president, Shania, is someone who I really admire, and she once even told me that she had no clue who I was when she first met me. And then for those of you guys who don't know Shania, she was last semester's president, and she made it her number one goal to make the members feel comfortable and just start reaching out to other people and just starting up a conversation. So her not knowing me just really said a lot about how much of a ghost I was. But I feel like that was really understandable because I was just scared of the transition from high school to college, and I just wasn't ready for the independence. But right from the start, my mentor pushed me to join corporate events, and the mentees in my group would make jokes and help me open up. And even now, I stand virtually, metaphorically, virtually in front of y'all. Stand in front of y'all. My bad. I still feel like I still need that support to get me through those tough times, especially during a global pandemic that kind of forces us to social distance. We need that human connection and encouragement to get us through those days. And although mentors graduate and time moves on, and when this whole pandemic is a thing of the past, you'll still find that the members of this org still would advocate for one another and metaphorically pass the flame of support to one another. And that's truly what makes ABSA such a special place, where we can make friends and support each other's successes and help grow past our failures and just experience the highs and lows of college classes. So, with that being said, I'm really excited to see where ABSA takes you. And with that, in addition to hearing my personal point of view about ABSA, I would like to welcome a very special guest. She was the president of ABSA in the spring 2017 semester. And before that, she served as the vice president marketing and the media director. And with that, I'll hand it off to Joy to formally introduce herself.
Cool. Hello, can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay, cool. Well, hi, everyone. Sorry, I just jumped on, so I may or may not have missed a few details, but I'm pretty sure the OD team has already covered all the important things that you need to know. But I was invited here today by Matt just to share about my college experience, what I do now, and how ABSA impacted me. So a little background about me, you can kind of read it off from the slide, but just like Marilyn mentioned, I graduated from spring 2017. I was a marketing major, minor in sales and finance. Some fun facts about me is that I moved from Taiwan to the States. Oh, and by the way, this is a virtual fake background that I use for work. So yes, it's definitely not daytime here. Just ignore that. It looks really nice. But yes, I moved from Taiwan to the States in 2012. English is not my first language, but I am bilingual in both Mandarin Chinese and English. And I have my little photography side business I do for fun as a part-time job. But my actual full-time job is an end-user computing competitive strategist at VMware. But essentially, I focus on our specific product solution as a product specialist in sales. And I work at VMware, which is a company that focuses on virtualization technology. I used to be based in Austin, but due to the COVID situation, I ended up moving back to Houston, where most of my friends and my family is. What do I do? And then before that, I had an internship with Gartner as a business development representative. And then before that, in my last 2 years in college, I was heavily involved with the program for excellence in selling. So for those who are Bauer students, you're probably aware of it, but it is part of the sales program that we have here at the school. And you coming out of the program, you gain life sales experience. And I was pretty involved in it after finishing my journey at ABSA, which I'll go into a little bit more. But I was a student sales representative and I became the key account manager. And then I essentially actually started working part-time there as an assistant program manager and teaching other students who are in the program. But really what I'm here today is kind of talk more about how ABSA impacted me. So when I think about that, there are 3 things that really stood out and I wanted to share with you guys today. So first part sounds pretty cheesy, but it is the friendship part. So back then when I was a freshman, I kind of stumbled upon the ABSA booth during CATSBAC. For those who don't know or may have not been to a CATSBAC due to this virtual environment, CATSBAC is a huge fair that kind of runs at the beginning of each semester. So all types of student organization can set up a booth and recruit members. Obviously, the louder you are, the better at attracting people stopping by at your booth. And I was one of the people that got attracted by the booth. So the 2 big words on the banner kind of stood out to me, right? Asian, business, and I was a pre-business major. So those 2 really caught my eyes. I was like, I matched the description pretty well. So I wanted to see what it was all about. I went to the orientation, just like what you guys are doing right now, and end up making my first friend there at the orientation at UH. The friend and I decided to actually sign up for membership since we got each other. So you know that feeling when you are more inclined to go to a party because you feel more comfortable that there's someone there, you know? So that was kind of our thought process when we sign up. And after attending a few socials together and a few volunteer events here and there, one friend turned into 2 friends, 2 turned into 4, and then eventually have my little squad and my little close friends group. We literally did everything together. We signed up for the same classes. We studied for final exams together, go to football games or go to the recs. May or may not have copied each other's homework, but you get the gist. And it didn't really just stop there. One of the unique things, pretty sure the family director has mentioned it, but that ABSA has to offer is the family program. So by being placed in a family program, you actually get to start socializing and meeting other people on a smaller scale. And eventually that gives you the ability to kind of venture out your way out to meet other people. I remember the most members we had at one point was probably around like the 200, 300 at one semester, maybe even more now. But can you imagine like putting yourself in a room full of hundreds of people and have you go mingle and make friends? Like, I mean, you can, but it's definitely quite challenging, even for the most extrovert person I know. But the family program helped you solve that barrier. And through the family program, kind of like the next few events you guys have lined up, you also get a mentor. And this is probably my favorite part because I'm thinking about back then when I was a freshman, I definitely did not know what I was doing. I have no idea what I wanted to do for the long run, what classes I should sign up for, what textbooks I actually need to buy, or which professors I should avoid. And even more on the longer spectrum is what job I want. What does a good resume look like? How to talk about yourself in interviews, and even how to ace an interview, right? But having a mentor who has already gone through all the same things and who can kind of guide you through the process and answers your questions and point you to the right direction was actually extremely super helpful for me. And another part was that I was actually able to connect with people who are juniors and seniors already. So as a freshman, getting the chance to talk to them actually kind of helped paint a better picture for me of what I wanted to do in the future. So that was the first thing. Take a deep breath here. I know I talk really fast. And then, so the second thing that kind of stood out on how ABSA impacted me is that it gives me a lot of opportunity to get out of my comfort zone. So it probably sounds really cheesy too, but I strongly believe that, by putting yourself out of your comfort zone, it's really the best way to grow. When you're pushing out, oh, thank you. Love cheesy. Love that. When you're pushing yourself to do things you've never done before, you may potentially, end up adding a new skill set to your toolbox. You may end up discovering a new interest or a hobby that you have. Or you may even, open a new door to a greater opportunity. You never know. So for me, when it comes to that is after being a member at ABSA for one semester when I was a freshman, I decided to go for the media director role. Back then it was actually called the historian. And the responsibilities for that just including taking pictures during events, making a few social media posts on Instagram here and there, and then managing the Facebook event page. I'm pretty sure the marketing team knows all about it. And for me, I was telling myself like, oh, I already have a digital camera. I like graphic designing, and I've done similar roles before in high school for my other clubs that I was involved in. It just makes the most sense for me to go for that. So I did end up getting the role, but here comes the part that actually pushed me out of my comfort zone. As part of the officer and director team, one of our responsibility is actually to recruit too. In my head, I was like, oh, I just need to take pictures of people and hide behind the camera. I don't really need to go up and talk to people. And obviously, I know now it's a different type of environment, but speaking of a real world environment, not virtual, for me it's like I actually need to go talk to people. And in my head I was like, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up to go up and talk to strangers and tell them to join ABSA, but I need to do it, so I did it. It all just started off with attending those cats back events or back drum whenever they have those events that allow you to market your organization. So I started off by passing out flyers, randomly yelling at strangers with super enthusiastic and high pitched voice and tell them to join ABSA. And then eventually I was able to kind of start sharing my experience with the few people that would stop and listen. And then I was able to connect with a few new potential members. And seeing them attending orientation after talking to them actually gave me a sense of accomplishment for sure. And that was just one example, right? By being on the officer and director team, you also get the experience to work with your department in a team setting. You get to plan, you get to learn how to coordinate events and learn new skills. And eventually, you can even expand your network by making friends with more people. So, as that semester came to an end, I knew there was still room to grow. So, I ended up going for the VP of marketing role the following semester. When you're going for VP, you have to give a speech. I have to overcome my fear of public speaking, which you can tell I'm still not very good at it. But it's those little small process and things you get to learn and kind of get to overcome. And I was able to kind of learn how to manage my department. And then in spring 2017, I ran for president, got the role, and then had the opportunity to work with some of the most amazing people I've ever met, and obviously gain some leadership experience that I can add to my resume too. That semester, I think we added over 200 new members and established the largest membership base that we ever had at that time, including returning members. So, I mean, I say all that is just to really point out that there's no other better way to grow than just putting yourself out there in those uncomfortable situations. And trust me, ABSA will give you plenty of that in a good way, of course. So lastly, this brings me to my last and my third point of how ABSA impacted me, right? If you look at my resume and everything, ABSA is really the foundation of everything I was able to accomplish today. I'm able to be in the role and have the job I am today because of ABSA. So if you take a step back, you look at it, it is all a chain reaction, kind of one thing led to another. See, if I didn't have the Gartner Sales internship experience, I probably would have had a hard time to be considered as a candidate for my current full-time job. But then if I didn't have that PES sales and management experience, I probably wouldn't have been able to get the Gartner sales internship. But then if I didn't have that ABSA leadership and the chances of having those extracurricular activities on my resume, I probably would have had a hard time to pass the PES interview to even be admitted into the program. So it really just all started with ABSA. So if any of the three things I mentioned today interest you or match what you're looking for, I strongly recommend you to join ABSA. Guarantee you will be able to find one of those three things here at ABSA, whether it is a starting point for your new journey, the opportunity for you to grow so you can be a better version of yourself, or those friendships that will last you for a lifetime. And that concludes my little guest speaker speech, and thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Joy. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure our members learned so much.